Foodborne illness, or food poisoning, is an infection caused by contaminated foods. It can cause several symptoms such as stomach cramps, fever, nausea, vomiting, and even death. The occurrence of more cases of a foodborne illness than would normally be expected in a specific area or group of people over a given period of time is called an outbreak. Foodborne illness outbreaks lead to many civil lawsuits, economic losses, and establishment closings. In food retail and restaurants, all food handlers must be responsible to ensure food safety standards to protect customers from foodborne illnesses. A key role in preventing foodborne illness is the restaurant's person in charge, or PIC. This designated person must be knowledgeable and responsible for food safety practices anytime the facility is in operation. Food safety practices are very important because they reduce the risk factors for foodborne illnesses and outbreaks. The PIC needs to ensure that employees are properly trained in their specific food handling duties. Germs that cause foodborne illness are on your hands. This is why poor hand washing and poor personal hygiene is the leading cause of foodborne illness. Washing your hands thoroughly is critical for preventing you from spreading germs to your customers, so let's wash them. First, you want to wet your hands with warm water. Apply plenty of soap and begin to lather by rubbing your palms together out of the stream of water. Don't forget between your fingers, the backs of your hands, your thumbs, wrists, fingertips, and under your nails. You should spend at least 10 to 15 seconds making a good lather. Once you are covered in soap, rinse well with warm water. Then dry with a paper towel. Lastly, turn off the water using the paper towel. You should wash your hands after you touch your face, nose, or scratch an itch, crack eggs, handle any raw meat or touch any surfaces or equipment that was used with raw meat, including cracking eggs, sneezing or coughing, handling trash or dirty dishes, before and after putting on new gloves, touching animals, using chemicals, smoking or taking a break. If you're unsure you need to wash your hands anyway. You can never be too safe. Food handlers must wash their hands both in the bathroom and again upon entering the kitchen in the designated hand-washing sink. Never use designated hand-washing sinks to wash foods or utensils because you can cross-contaminate them. Remember that hand washing is the most important food safety tool you can use to prevent spreading germs, so use it well. Besides having good personal hygiene, employees must follow good manufacturing practices when handling foods. One of the most important things you can do to prevent the spread of foodborne illness is to not touch ready-to-eat foods with your bare hands. Always use a utensil or gloved hands to handle these items. When preparing pizza, ingredients may be touched with bare hands before the pizza goes to the oven. However, after removing the pizza from the oven, utensils or gloved hands must be used. Don't forget, always wash your hands when changing tasks before you put on gloves. Wearing hair nets and to reduce the from workers into foods. These items may be worn while preparing food, but must be removed before entering the restroom. Gloves must always be changed after touching raw animals, walls, floor, cleaning supplies, or objects that are not clean. Food handlers must not wear artificial fingernails, bracelets, or rings with stones. Plain band wedding rings are able to be worn. Other unsecured jewelry must be removed because they might fall into foods. Employees must always wash hands after scratching their skin to avoid possible contamination of food or utensils. Cuts and abrasions on skin must always be properly cleaned and covered with a clean gauze, Band-Aid, or other type of bandage. And remember, never try to catch a knife when it is falling. Being sick while handling food is one of the worst food safety practices. When you aren't feeling well while handling food, or being in a place where food is, you can greatly increase the chance of spreading your germs to your customers. Viruses, bacteria, and fungi can be passed through food and may potentially make people sick. E. coli, typhoid fever, salmonella, shigella, norovirus, and hepatitis A are examples of diseases that can be transmitted by contaminated food. If you have vomiting, diarrhea, jaundice, fever with sore throat, or an infected wound on your hands or arms, you should not work with food while sick, and cannot be near any food handling areas until you have been symptom-free for 24 hours. Inform the person in charge that you don't feel well. They may either send you home or assign you to different work like cashier, table bussing, stocking canned or packaged foods, non-food cleaning, or maintenance duties. Food establishments must meet the minimum standards for the sanitary design and have a layout that favors an adequate product flow. Facilities should be kept clean and organized, have well-maintained restrooms with operating hand sinks, and have signs saying that employees must wash hands before returning to work. Facilities should have segregated food preparation areas and areas with controlled access to prevent cross-contamination from outside. Smoking is prohibited inside of food establishments and must be only allowed in designated outside areas away from food production areas. Food establishments have a lot of important equipment that needs to be well maintained to avoid malfunction. Refrigerators must keep food of an internal temperature of 41 degrees Fahrenheit, and freezers must keep food frozen solid. Heat sanitizing dish machines must have water at 180 degrees Fahrenheit to sanitize dishes, pans, pots, and utensils, which must reach 160 degrees Fahrenheit on their surface, and low-temperature dish machines must have proper sanitizer levels. Employees must ensure that equipment is functioning properly. In case of malfunction, the person in charge must be informed. Sanitizer buckets with towels must always be available to employees, as well as hand wash stations, so food handlers can easily wash their hands when necessary. Clean and dirty equipment and utensils should always be kept separate to avoid cross-contamination of the dirty to the clean. Having your food handler card is required while at work, and you must always keep it available. Those who do not have a food handler card should not handle food or drinks. Simple. This applies to hosts of restaurants who answer phone calls and seat guests, but do not serve food or drinks. While in the work environment, you should be respectful to everybody. Showing respect for one another will make the working environment pleasant for everybody and encourage good teamwork. You will be part of a business. Think of it as a machine that has many different parts that all move together to produce a single outcome or product. Every piece of the machine can represent a different person in a kitchen. Every person works together to produce food for customers. If one person in the kitchen isn't doing their job correctly, it will affect the food that is made. Any problems, questions, or concerns should be communicated to the person in charge or to fellow employees when appropriate. If we all work together, communicate with one another, do our job correctly, and work respectfully with one another, the workplace will be a better place for everybody. Using a thermometer is the only way to ensure food is held correctly and cooked to the proper temperature. Therefore, verifying if a thermometer is properly measuring the temperature of foods is extremely important to ensure food safety. There are several types of thermometers that can be used to verify food temperature. However, probe or stem type thermometers are the most common and are the only ones that can measure internal food temperature. They need to be verified to ensure they are accurately calibrated routinely and every time after being dropped. The recommended way to verify if a food probe thermometer is properly working is to use the ice point method. Food handlers must fill a container with ice, preferably crushed, and then add tap water to just below the top of the ice. Swirl or let the ice water sit for a few minutes to allow the temperature to stabilize. Put the thermometer probe into water while avoiding the sides and bottom of the cup. Hold the thermometer for 30 seconds, and the temperature should read 32 degrees Fahrenheit. If the thermometer does not read between 30 degrees Fahrenheit and 34 degrees Fahrenheit, recalibrate or discard the thermometer. Quality food in, quality food out. You want to be sure the food you serve to your customers is safe to eat. Food products should meet quality standards and be properly stored, especially items that need to be refrigerated. Food products to be used in restaurants must be from an approved source and always be within their expiration date. To ensure proper storing and rotating, the food that has been in storage longest should be the next food used. Regarding temperature, food handlers must always measure the temperature of the foods to ensure they haven't entered the danger zone where bacteria thrive. TCS stands for Time, Temperature Control for Safety, and these types of foods need to be kept under refrigeration or hot holding. TCS foods must only be received and kept at 41 degrees Fahrenheit, with a few exceptions. Eggs may be received and stored at 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Live shellfish, like oysters, mussels, and clams, may be received at 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Frozen foods must always be received frozen and kept in a similar fashion. Beverages and ice are also food items that must be properly handled. Newly received foods should be inspected, documented, and quickly put into proper storage. Foods inspected upon receiving to be above their appropriate temperature should be immediately rejected. In addition, foods with the following characteristics must also be rejected: cans that appear to be swollen, expanded, or dented; cardboard boxes with watermarks showing evidence of thawing of frozen foods; frozen foods with water crystals showing evidence of thawing and refreezing on frozen foods; any spoiled food such as moldy cheese or bread or sour milk; expired food products and foods without labels; food or packaging with signs of pests, holes, or rust. Food products must be properly stored to avoid possible cross-contamination. Overall, food must be stored on shelves placed at least 6 inches off the floor. Coolers and refrigerators must have internal thermometers, which should be easily accessible and placed in the warmest area of the unit. Raw animal products, such as meat, fish, and poultry, must be stored below or away from ready-to-eat foods. Date marking is required for ready-to-eat foods opened or prepared in the establishment and held refrigerated for more than 24 hours. These foods must be marked with the date, either of preparation or expiration, and be consumed or discarded within 7 days, including the day of preparation. Ready-to-eat products such as cooked rice, sliced deli meat, chicken and tuna salad, cooked vegetables, and soups must be held at 41 degrees or less for the duration of no more than 7 days. Time temperature control for safety foods, or TCS foods, are any foods that have a specific shelf life and must be kept under refrigeration for safety. TCS foods that are expired or kept under unacceptable temperatures or past the allotted time must be discarded. When dealing with TCS foods, food handlers must understand the temperature danger zone. This zone is the range of temperatures that allows bacteria to grow quickly in foods. Some of these bacteria can cause illness if the product is left in the danger zone, or if the food is not properly cooked. The temperature danger zone is 41 degrees Fahrenheit to 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Also, when food is not cooked to the required temperature, bacteria in food persists, which may cause foodborne illness. Therefore, food handlers must always keep the temperature danger zone in mind when cooking, cooling, thawing, or chilling foods. Common TCS foods include raw animal products such as pork, fish, seafood, and poultry, dairy products such as milk, sour cream, ice cream, and some cheeses, eggs, garlic in oil, some cut foods such as melons, tomatoes, and leafy greens, and cooked rice, potatoes, beans, vegetables, and grains. Dry foods that can be stored at room temperature are not considered TCS foods. Proper cooking is an effective way to control food safety. Cooking kills most of the microorganisms that can cause illness. Raw animal products need to be cooked to the following internal temperatures measured in the thickest part with a probe thermometer. Chicken, 165 for 1 second. Ground and cut up meats, 155 for 17 seconds. Steak, pork, fish, and eggs, 145 for 15 seconds. After foods are cooked to the proper temperature, they need to be handled safely to ensure that no bare hand contact or cross-contamination occurs afterward. Cooked products must never be stored next to raw animal products. Although undercooking foods increase the chance of foodborne illness, establishments may provide the option for customers to request having undercooked foods, such as rare meats, sunny-side-up eggs, and raw oysters if a consumer advisory notice is declared on the menu. Holding foods at their proper temperature is a breeze. Hot foods ready to be served hot should be and stay hotter than the temperature danger zone to keep the germs from growing, 135 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Regularly check the temperature of the foods and occasionally stir the foods to mix the temperature all around. Foods which are ready to be served cold, they should stay cold, colder than the temperature danger zone, below 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Cooling and reheating foods are some of the riskiest parts of food safety because they are traveling through the temperature danger zone. Because of this, foods need to be watched carefully. Okay, maybe not watched, but monitored, ideally with a log, to be sure it is cooling down or heating up within a certain amount of time. Too much time in the temperature danger zone allows the germs within the food to grow and multiply. Foods need to be cooled in a two-step process. The food needs to cool from 135 degrees Fahrenheit to 70 degrees Fahrenheit within 2 hours. Food then needs to cool to 41 degrees Fahrenheit or below within 6 hours total. Best ways to cool foods: placing uncovered foods in shallow pans, using an ice water bath, using ice paddles, placing food container in a blast chiller. When reheating cooled food, be sure to move quickly through the danger zone. Foods must be reheated to 165 degrees Fahrenheit within 2 hours. Do not use hot holding equipment to reheat foods. Best ways to reheat foods: on the stove, in the oven, in a microwave. Placing frozen foods on a counter at room temperature is an unsafe method of thawing, because the outside of the food risks entering the temperature danger zone while waiting for the inside to thaw. Best ways to thaw frozen foods: in the refrigerator, submerged under cold running water, in the microwave if cooking immediately, as a part of the cooking process. Cross-contamination is when germs from one place hitchhike to a new place. They can travel on utensils, cutting boards, and food handler hands. Cross-contamination may occur when the same utensils are used to place raw meats on a grill and again used to move the cooked food off the grill, or when raw meat and raw vegetables are cut on the same cutting board. Raw foods and cooked foods must always be kept separate. A good food safety practice to prevent cross-contamination includes using color-coded cutting boards for raw meat, vegetables, cooked meats, raw poultry, seafood, and cheese and breads. This helps to prevent cross-contamination, as well as segregating utensils for each product, such as tongs and spatulas, used for cooked products only. Food and cutting boards. The countertops and cutting boards must be cleaned and sanitized before its next use to avoid any possible cross-contamination. There are a few different food hazards that you'll need to watch out for because they can all be dangerous to your customers. Food hazards can be biological, physical, and chemical, such as cleaning products. Biological hazards are germs, such as bacteria and viruses, that are on food that can make people sick. Some germs can be on the food naturally, such as raw meats or unwashed produce. Can also be spread to foods by unwashed hands and dirty surfaces. Physical hazards are any object that shouldn't be in the food. They can be naturally occurring from the food, such as bone and eggshells, or things such as hair, jewelry, equipment like screws and pieces of glass. Chemical hazards can come from any chemical products you use in the kitchen, which can splash or drip or somehow contaminate into food. Cleaning and sanitizing your dirty dishes and utensils is a very important food safety process. Cleaning is the removal of grease and debris. Sanitizing reduces the number of germs to safe levels. If this is not done properly, microorganisms can contaminate foods. Equipment can be cleaned and sanitized in dishwashing machines that use chemical sanitizers or heat. Each machine has a data plate that explains how to properly operate the machine. Make sure it is working properly by measuring the temperature of the chemical used for sanitizing. Check the temperature using a waterproof memory thermometer or temperature-sensitive tape, and check chemical strength with a test strip. If manually washing dishes, a 3-compartment sink is necessary. Start by pre-washing or scraping dirty equipment. Then use the first basin for washing dirty equipment with hot soapy water, at least 110 degrees Fahrenheit, to remove bits of food and grease. If the equipment is not properly cleaned, or if there is soap on the equipment, the sanitizer will not be as effective.
The second basin is for rinsing to remove all traces of detergent and food particles. The third basin is used to sanitize the items. If using Quat, you will need to check the instructions on the sanitizer bottle.
For chlorine, use 50 to 100 parts per million for 10 seconds.
Fill the basin with water and sanitizer to the specified temperature and concentration and check it with a test strip. Be sure to soak equipment for the required contact time. Lastly, place the sanitized equipment on the clean drain board to air dry. Never rinse after sanitizing or dry with a towel. This can contaminate the items you just washed. Remember, the proper sequence for manual washing is to pre-wash, wash, rinse, sanitize, and air dry. After handling dirty dishes, always wash your hands in a hand washing sink before you handle clean or washed dishes.
Keeping your facility clean is important. When cleaning and sanitizing food contact surfaces that cannot fit in the 3-compartment sink, such as tables and large equipment, still follow a wash, rinse, and sanitize procedure. It is also important to have a sanitizer bucket available whenever open food is present. The sanitizer must be kept at proper concentration, verified with a test strip. Keep a cloth in the bucket and use it to wipe down food contact surfaces. Prepare a new bucket when the concentration is too low or the liquid is dirty. Don't forget, cleaners and sanitizers are also a food hazard, so they must be used properly and also stored safely so they do not come into contact with any foods. Chemicals must be labeled and need to be stored away from the food prep areas where they can't spill or drip onto any food products. No pests allowed. Your workplace should be pest-free with no signs of any ants, flies, cockroaches, mice, rats, birds, etc. The best thing to do is not make them feel welcome in the first place. Don't give them a way in, don't give them food, and don't give them a place to hide and call home. But if you find evidence of pests inside your facility, like mouse droppings on a floor, a single dead cockroach in the corner, gnaw or chew marks on any food containers, you have a pest problem. When you think you have a pest problem, don't buy your own pesticides from the store that are labeled for household use only. You need to consult with a licensed pest control company to take care of the pest infestation in a safe and approved way. Food truck vendors must follow good manufacturing practices and follow safety rules set by the health district. The same rules and practices mentioned in the previous modules must be followed by food handlers in mobile establishments. In order to operate a mobile establishment, the vehicle and driver must be properly licensed, and food handlers must have their cards available at all times. Food services, equipment in general, and utensils must be properly sanitized and segregated based on type and state of the product and stored as mentioned in the previous modules. The temperature must be closely monitored, especially when receiving food products, and the thermometers must be verified. Before initiating operations, personnel must ensure that refrigerators are properly working at compliant temperatures to avoid compromising the storage of TCS foods. Non-food contact surfaces must be smooth, non-absorbent, and cleaning friendly. There must be dedicated hand washing and food preparation sinks. Fresh and wastewater tanks must have compatible dimensions according to the volume that is being prepared daily. Trucks must have proper ventilation, and air filters must be kept clean and in good condition. Mobile establishment owners must ensure that backup generators are properly functional. Ensuring food safety must be the caterer's top priority.
Catering and restaurant food safety practices are similar and must be followed according to the health district rules. Food handlers must have their food handler safety cards available at all times, and critical temperatures mentioned in the previous modules must be respected when storing and preparing foods. Foods must be transported in appropriate containers that hold proper temperatures. Dedicated containers must be used for raw animal products to avoid any possible cross-contamination. If not using time as a public health control with a written plan, the temperature of foods must be checked at regular intervals to ensure that it doesn't enter the temperature danger zone. Menus must contain consumer advisory if necessary. Equipment and utensils used to store food and serve customers must be properly cleaned and sanitized and stored. When needed, caterers must ensure that power sources or generators are functional and all food contact surfaces are clean and well maintained.